All right, my friends, it's a bittersweet time. This is the last stream for a while. Um, don't cry, R, reverse R. So let me know if the mic is good. We'll do our typical audio checks and we will get started listening to your beats. I'm excited to hear what we have today too, Rosha. Dennis is here. How are you guys doing today? I know this one's the latest one I've ever done. You guys are probably tucked into your beds right now. Grout Master's crying, so am I. There's tears on the inside. I assume the mic is working. Otherwise, you guys would be telling me. So let me know if the mic is working. We'll do our second audio test. And then we'll move on. Let me fix this light. I think that might be better. Asol, yes. So this is Trent is here, Steven's here. This is the last one I'll be doing for a while. I used to do these every 2 weeks. It's probably gonna be. I'm not gonna commit to anything and how frequently they are. But yeah, I'm gonna be doing these streams for my course members because we're gonna start doing beat challenges, and it's just gonna be way too much to do. Public streams and then private streams. These things give me anxiety as they are. I always have to take a dump before the streams, so that's a little insider info for you guys. And yeah, doing this way too much would probably stress me out way too much. So let's do the second test. We hear you fine. Let's listen to some audio. Let me know if we can hear this.
If you want sweet beats, we've got some. If you want some sweet beats, we've got them. Repeat after me, here we go. Beat, beat, cherry, beat.
Beat, beat, cherry.
Beat. There we go. That's fun, isn't it, guys? That's gonna be my new YouTube intro, I think. That's fire right there. Dump before stream, yep. That's good advice for anyone, I would say. Always take a dump before you need to. We hear them. All right, guys. So let's get started. As you guys probably already know, instructions are right there. Dennis says he's made a trash beat, but needs it reviewed anyways. Fair enough. I'm going to do the keyword now. BZ Beats. The instructions are right there. I hope I'm pointing the right way. Let us do the first keyword. I had a good one in my head earlier today. I've already forgotten it. So I think I know. Yeah. First keyword is in the Discord. And yeah, let me hear your beats. I'm ready to do some beat reviews. Kyle Beats trying to sell me 20 drum loops for $7. Interesting. Actually, I recently bought one of my subscribers told me about Beat Batter. So I guess it's a bunch of guys that like record drum breaks in weird places, and I really enjoyed that. So yeah, I enjoy a nice drum break download. Anyways, I can see what's popping while I edit videos. Excellent, excellent. We've got no submissions so far, so if you guys want your beats heard, now's the time to send them in. There we go. Let's do Sam Kalla. He was the first one to make it in. He's got this Arabic beat, his favorite non-hip-hop song, Ritz Terrible by Arctic Monkeys. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of the beat in the chattas. Your guys' reviews also help me out to pick up on things. And is it okay to post drum and bass? Absolutely. I'll listen to anything. I enjoy all types of music. But I'll say that if I want to review something, I might not be able to give as good of a in-depth critique if it's a genre I'm not familiar with, just because obviously I can't give advice on things I don't know. Anyways, I'll still like to hear your music though. Let's take a listen to this first beat. Let me know what you guys think about this beat in the chats. Here we go.
Shit smash.
All right, that was Sam Kalla. His beat there, SK, a dark trap instrumental. So what are you guys saying? The kick and the 808 don't fit together, says Grout. Kelly says this beat's nice, but could use some more movement and parts to spice it up. Trent Lee not feeling it. Claps in different spots would have been dope. Crazy hi-hat pattern, says Thrill Boy. So what my takeaway is, well, first off, you guys mentioned that the beat sounded quiet. I think it was just not mastered. But in terms of the balance in the beat, I agree with Atharv. The main loop was really quiet relative to the other instruments. And so the beat sounded somewhat incomplete and weak because of it. The additional layers in the beat didn't necessarily work. The flutes in specific, the wrong notes were just being played there. I'm not sure whether that was a sample that you just sort of tried to crowbar into the beat, but nonetheless, it didn't fit, musically speaking. The wrong notes were playing. But the vocal sample did work. I thought the vocal sample sounded great in the beat. I think overall, though, in terms of, it's interesting that I Got to Get It says, I think he did a great job of filling up space. I sort of felt that there was a big chunk of frequency missing in the low mids. So when it was just the sample, the loop, as well as the drums playing, it felt very, very bare. And typically, I think a lot of the reasons why this happens for a lot of producers is because they might take an EQ and just remove way too much from the low end. You do want to get rid of the frequencies that you don't need, but typically you just sort of want to stop around, well, it depends on what other instruments are doing, but in this case, I would say like everything from 200 hertz and up was necessary and needed. I'm not sure whether the producer went a little bit too extreme with the EQing, but it definitely seemed like there's a big piece missing down there. And, you know, I think that's something that I definitely struggled with when I first started making beats. I would grab samples and I would pitch them up. And obviously when you pitch them up, the entire frequency spectrum shifts upwards towards the high end. And if you do that too much though, you're gonna take a lot of the frequencies that would sit in that low mid and boost them up, and so you're gonna have a somewhat of a space that's missing there because the 808 and the kick are sitting in their space, and then all the instruments are all the way over here, but there's that gap in between that's missing, and filling that can be difficult. So if you're not someone who is good at adding your own instrumentation on top of your own beat, you might need to either peel back the EQ so there is more presence down there, or something that I like to do is I'll grab halftime and I'll peel the dry wet knob all the way down to like around a quarter, and so what that does is basically shifts the entire loop down an octave, and if you bring the mix down quite a bit, it will sort of just, it won't be as present, that layer of the pitch down version, but it'll still provide a nice low end into your beat that might otherwise be missing. So you can give that a shot. You can try bussing. You can do the exact same technique but bus it, so you have that in a separate mixer insert, and then bring the volume down, and then you can control that with an EQ with a lot more accuracy. Yeah, that could be something that you can try. Leon says the last time, question mark. What is that in your picture? Is that a weed? I'm gonna call the police on you, Leon. This is gonna be the last time for quite some time. Like I mentioned to the people in the chat, I have my course out and I'm gonna be doing live streams for course members only, just because I want to make sure that they get their money's worth. So I'm gonna be doing these live streams a lot less frequently, just because I can't do both. That would be way too stressful for me. So that's why we're here doing this live stream now. All right, let's listen to, whoa, a whole bunch just came in. Isn't She Lovely by Stevie Wonder. Internet Face, you said, you came in here very early. I think you're the first one in here. So Belle Biv DeVoe, Poison, but it's drill. Interesting. Let's take a listen.
Girl, I must warn you, I sense something strange in my mind. Yeah, yo, situation is serious. Let's cure it cause we're running out of time. Tell him, Rick. It's all so beautiful. Relationships, they seem from the start. Yeah, it's all so deadly when love is not together from the heart. Check it out. It's driving me out of my mind. That's why it's hard for me to find. Can't get it out of my head. Miss her, kiss her, love her. That girl is poison. Never trust a big button to smile. That girl is poison. If I were you, I'd take precaution before I step to meet a fly girl. You know, cause in some portion, you'll think she's the best thing in the world. She's so bad, she'll drive you right out of your mind, steal your heart when you're blind. Beware, she's scheming, she'll make you think you're dreaming. You'll fall in love and you'll be screaming, demon. It's driving me out of my mind. That's why it's hard for me to find. Can't get it out of my head. run this mile. She's dangerous. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, fellas, that was another dope one. That was another dope
All right, that was Internet Face, Belle Biv DeVoe remix, a drill remix there. The chat is on fire right now. Woon's loving it, Steven's loving it. Nice drums, heard a bit of panning on the snares. I think the melody would add more substance, maybe a piano. Fire Dough, Poison, OMG says Clothing Basic. Someone thought that was you singing. Yeah, I mean, through and through, I agree exactly with what the chat's saying. That was really well put together. Great work, very unique and original. I was a bit skeptical. I was like, well, how's this going to work as a trap beat? But by gum, you did it. Don't really have anything poor to say about the beat. I think it was very impressive. All the different layers that you had in the beat with the reverse piano. And I think at one point you had like the strings within the, or sorry, you had the string section come in and out, and it was really well done and put together. In past streams, I always talk about how it can be really hard to program actual live sounding strings and actually not have it sound cheesy and stock, and I think you did a great job with what you did with all the instrumentation. Nothing sounded stock or cheesy. Nothing really bad to say on a production level. Everything was well put together. If you wanted to push this a little bit more, there was one section where I thought it would have been cool if there was like a bit of a breakdown. So I think for the most part throughout the entire remix, you had the drums playing and you kept the energy up. But if you remember from the last stream, every song is like a roller coaster. There's like ups and downs. And so, yeah, if you want to push yourself and see if you can explore some new territories, try to bring the beat and the song to like a sort of a lull and then bring it back in, and that might be something that you can try out. Overall though, absolutely great work, and big kisses to you, Internet Face. I would kiss your face if I could see it with how good that was. We will some Metallica. I'm a big lover of, what's a good song there? No Leaf Clover, that's my favorite Metallica song. Anyways, he's Matry Beats. He's got this Travis Scott type beat, Ominous. It's a co-pro with Millie One. Let's take a listen.
Come back.
All right, that was Matry Beats. Yeah, I got rid of those annoying trolls. Some people in the chat seem to really enjoy it. Dabu Beat says sick. Ethan says like the breakdowns though. So I think this is a really well put together beat. This to me, I think I saw Joseph Armstrong in the chat says the beat needed a bit more depth. To me, like the description said, this is a Travis Scott type beat, and I think this is a well put together beat for an artist to use. I sort of envision the artist having a huge big presence in the beat and playing around with like vocal effects and having a lot of reverb on it, just like Travis Scott would with his ad-libs and whatnot. So I sort of think that the producer here did a good job of including just enough elements into the beat in order to make it seem full enough and really paint a picture and create their own idea, and at the same time leave enough room for the artist to use the beat. Great job with playing around with the amount of space that you had. You just hit that balance really well. I enjoyed the sort of switch ups where you had the beat feel completely different by adding that different drum break into the beat. I thought that was done really, really well. The textures all fit, which can be really difficult to do, especially when you have more typical trap types of drums, and then you switch over to something that's a little bit more I wouldn't say if it was acoustic, but it was just completely different drum textures. But nonetheless, everything worked really well together. The only thing I would say is that the kick was a bit hot on my end. I'm not sure whether it just might be my sound treatment here, but nonetheless, that's just a small little thing. I don't really have anything negative to say about this. You had your intention. You wanted to make a Travis Scott type beat, and I think you succeeded at that perfectly. So yeah, there you go, guys. I could definitely hear Travis on this, says A. Sean. Is there a lot of meanies coming in for some reason? Okay, let's keep this going. Let's keep on keeping on. Let's take a listen to No-No's beat here. 16 years old. Been producing for almost a year, so let's keep that in mind as we listen. It's a young whippersnapper full of zest and vigor. So Bolt is the beat's name. Let's take a listen. All right, that was No No. Leon says hard. The kid spazzed. His name should be Yes Yes, because I enjoyed that beat quite a bit. As you guys know, I enjoy the experimental types of beats, and this was one of those. Leon says fire emoji. Would be cool in the game, says Joseph Armstrong. So yeah, I really loved it. It's a very unique beat. As you guys know, I don't like guitar type beats, but this type of guitar, I'm all for it. Really heavy metal, very distorted, very rough and aggressive, and I'm all for it. The producer knew exactly what he was going for. He wanted to make that type of really aggressive beat. The textures that he used were exactly that. The sort of cool, distorted interjections and instances throughout the beat where he just, I don't know what that was, where he just grabbed random sounds and just distorted the hell out of them and then sort of dropped the guitar and then played those sounds in and out throughout the beat. He did that enough times to the point where there was enough variation for this beat to sound enjoyable and complete for the 2 minutes or so that it lasted. And yeah, I mean, I have absolutely nothing negative to say on that front. This was a very uniquely produced track. This young fella is 16 years old, and he has a really interesting, unique take on beat making, and I want to encourage that. So make sure, No, if you're watching, you might feel pressure to go towards the typical and make boring beats that sound like everyone else's, but to me it sounds like you got a unique ear, you have a unique voice, and try not to lose that throughout the journey that you may go on. Some people said that the beat was a bit muddy. Yeah, I sort of felt that there's a little bit of roughness around the edges, but that sort of played into the aesthetic of the beat. It sort of did feel grungy and like very like DIY in your face. So if this beat was like super clean and polished, I sort of feel like it might have lost a bit of edge. Smashy in the chat said some room and panning work might help. Yeah, I think that might be something that the producer might want to try out. Just play around with a little bit of reverb on certain instruments, or just taking a little bit of stereo with playing around with that to maybe take that guitar and sort of have it sit in its own place, but try not to, take away too much from it. Overall, I wouldn't stress too much about the mix because the beat idea is what I am looking for most, and you have a very impressive idea. So good job, young No. There he is. He's got his big bird emoji, and he's happy. So I'm happy that No's happy. It is 6:30. Let's do a new keyword. I should really think about what the keyword's going to be before I even start talking. So let's do a classic, the one that I enjoy. New keyword is in the thingy, so check it out. Submit your beats to me using that keyword. As you guys can see below me, the timer is set. My course is set to close in around 2.5 hours. The response has been good. I'm very happy with the amount of people in it. We'll see what the grand total is going to be after tonight, but nonetheless, thank you guys for showing up and checking out the stream. Just like the description says, this is going to be the last one for quite some time, just because the course below, one of the things that I'm offering is routine streams and beat reviews for course members, and there's going to be beat challenges for course members where I tell them you got to make a beat with these specific parameters, and then I review those beats. And so I won't be able to do public streams as well as course member streams, and I need to prioritize them because obviously they paid for it, so I want to make sure I give them the attention and help them as much as I can. So yeah, the course is open for another 2.5 hours. Obviously, if you join up You don't have to watch all the videos in 2.5 hours. You're going to get lifetime access to all the content as well as everything I put out in the future, which includes more than 50 videos that, in my opinion, are much better than my YouTube videos. It's basically the next level of YouTube, of my YouTube content. This is more so for intermediate beat makers. So if you're just starting out, I'd recommend holding off. But yeah, if you feel like you struggle with your beats, you want to take them to the next level, you don't know what you're doing wrong, imagine my best YouTube video and imagine like 50 of those all in one place. That's basically what this course is. Plus you get a bunch of loops, you get a bunch of drum sounds, and you get an SEO cheat sheet. So if you want to sell beats, this tells you the best keywords for type beats on YouTube, the top 1,000 that you should be using. It's the same tool that I use to grow my own YouTube channel. I use that tool to tell you guys what the best keywords are for selling beats. So that is the course down below. It is going to end in 2.5 hours. As for when it's going to reopen, I'm not sure. Probably sometime late April, but at that point it's going to be full price. And based off of the response I had, I think the price might even go up a bit. No one's really said that they felt the course was like overvalued. Most of the people that came in and joined the course, they were very happy with the quality of information in it, and they felt like they got a lot of value out of it. So yeah, join up. BetterBeatmaker.com is the website to go to, and 15-day refund period. So if you don't feel like it's for you, feel free to request a refund, but you will lose access to all future content as well as the community for those live streams. Only fans of sexy beat making concepts. That's basically what this course is. If you want my OnlyFans of beat making concepts, betterbeatmaker.com. All right, let us continue on, my sweeties. Let's go for a movie that I would have no business enjoying. Scream 4. That's a very unusual and interesting pick. LDD, but nonetheless interesting. Joey Badass type beat, Everlasting. I've heard of a Joey Badass before. I'm not sure where though. Anyways, let's take a listen to this beat. All right, that was LLD. What's his producer name? Really Unruly. His Joey Badass type of beat there. Sounds not bad, but a bit repetitive, says MPS. What kind of beat is this? It's a Joey Badass type of beat. Yeah, I agree. The kick can hit harder, says VMar. Wyatt Loki sounds like an Adult Swim bump. Thank you, Jeremy. This is a freestyle type beat. So my takeaway with the beat is that it's a great loop. A lot was EQ'd out of it, and I'm not 100% sure why. It sounded like there was a bass line with a loop, but the producer EQ'd it out, and so the beat was basically just missing something on the low end. I thought for the first little while that the producer EQ'd the low ends just so they can add their own bass line, but none ever came, and the beat sort of felt incomplete to me for that reason, unfortunately. I think one of the reasons why the VMar says the kick can hit harder. It was a sort of unusual kick that was used here. It was like a more boomier, prolonged type of kick, and I assume part of the reason why is because the producer did want to fill some of that low end up. But unfortunately, for a beat like this, I think you sort of do need to program in a bass line if you're not going to use the one that came with the loop. If that's something that you struggle with, I would recommend checking out my video on like 8 tips that you can use when coming up with your own bass line. But yeah, that was something that was sort of severely lacking in this beat that really held it from being a complete full beat. I do think your direction and having this sound like a Joey Badass type of beat was on point. That loop selection as well as that switch up, those are things I could definitely see him rap on. This sort of did feel like a freestyle type of beat, like Schmossy says in his in the chat there. So yeah, that switch up did fit into that sort of idea of just straight freestyling, and that was a well done idea. And there was some low end during that section which I liked, but I think just for that main section of the beat, if you just included a bass line into this beat, it would feel a lot more complete and a lot more enjoyable. Cool idea in here for sure. It was just not fully developed because the low end wasn't all the way there. So yeah, that's my takeaway for that beat. Let's see here. What are your guys' favorite movies? Let's see. I don't remember the name. How do you not remember the name of your favorite movie? That's silliness, guys. Let's take a listen to the Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I love that movie. It's one of my all-time favorites. So is The Truman Show. I love that movie too. This beat by Hyper is called Wah Wah Wah. Let's take a listen. All right, that was Hyper. Think it's missing a melody. Says Get Bodied Son needs a lot of work, says Grits and Gravy. Kelly does not like the 808. Not gonna lie, repetitive, says R. Good freestyle beat, but I'm an 808 bassy guy, so maybe make the 808 louder. So I think with his beat, it did feel a bit incomplete. The sound that was chosen here just did not fill up enough space, just like Grout mentioned. There was just not enough instrumentation to fill up the entirety of what a beat needs to fill. The sound that was chosen was fine. It was cool. If the intent here was to make a very ethereal, minimal type of beat, taking this sound and I think saturating it so it fills up a little bit more of the frequency space and it sounds a lot more present, and then like maybe throwing some reverb and delay on top and get really unique with the effects on that, and then just having like small little sounds that aren't necessarily musical go in and out throughout the beat. That could be a direction that this beat could take if you just wanted to keep it with this main idea and sort of have it be a little bit more a stripped down idea. You can still make the beat feel a little bit more full without adding more musical elements into it by using some of those strategies that I just mentioned. But if you were trying to fill it up with more melodic instruments, what I would do, just like I mentioned in my course, in this particular beat, the sound that was chosen is a very long sustained one. And so if the producer was having a hard time coming up with more instrumentation to add on, one of the reasons why is because it's probably not going to be the best idea to take yet another prolonged, long sustaining sound and try to come up with a pattern using that. Typically what I would probably do is find like a pluckier sound to add into this beat, and that way you have a sort of very sharp plucky sound sort of sitting in a separate space with this prolonged ethereal type of pad sound, and that would be a good combination of sounds to put together to make this beat feel a little bit more complete. So those are a few ideas that you can pursue to make this beat feel a little bit more done, I would say. But yeah, I sort of do feel like I get the idea behind this beat and what the intention was. It's just the execution wasn't all the way there, just because there needs to be a little bit more added into this beat. All right, let's keep on keeping on. Shawshank Redemption, A Story of Beauty. I love that movie. Curious Guy, he's got this beat here. He's about to impress us all with his I don't know what that, it's supposed to be vintage, but it says Vinatge. I enjoy pointing out your guys' spelling mistakes because it makes me feel superior. So let's listen to this beat. Alright, that was Curious Guys' beat. Somewhat short, but unfortunately it did feel like it was getting repetitive towards the end. Manjack says, I don't know about the 808s. Claps ain't hitting. Hi-hats are okay. Repetitive, off-key 808. AI generated melody. Piano's nice, but a bit repetitive. Yeah, I think that's somewhat of my takeaway here. The melody was fine. Like the piano programming was fine, but didn't really feel like it was something unique or maybe memorable. And I sort of think that's why it started to feel a bit repetitive towards the end. I liked the programming for the Fender Rhodes, the electric piano that you played on top. Unfortunately, it was sort of tucked away in the back, and so it didn't really feel like it was adding that much to the beat. I think that's also part of the reason why the beat started to feel repetitive. The additional layers that you added on top, they weren't really big, substantial sounds that were added to sort of provoke a new feeling into the beat, just because they're just so quiet. Tim Villa says, overall it's a good vibe. I like it. He just made the 808 a little bit bigger. Yeah, I think this is a fine beat. It's well put together. It's just small little elements that kept it from being a little bit more interesting than it could have been. The sort of arrangement that was done here was just, here's a section with the hi-hats, here's a section without. And it sounded like you put this melody together yourself, so I would just say, based on what I heard, it sounds like you know what you're doing in terms of putting a core loop together. And I think more could have been added into this beat by just pushing yourself when it comes time to arranging the beat out, just because it felt like you had your core idea and it was fine, it was a good idea, but you never really pushed it anywhere beyond that for the minute and 43 seconds that this beat lasted. And I think this beat could have gone somewhere unique and interesting based off of what you did. Unfortunately, you just sort of decided to loop the same thing over and over again, so it's sort of hard to say. I can somewhat see an artist using this, but having said that, for your own development and for your own skill's sake, I would like to see you push your own arrangement skills, just because it sort of feels like you were sort of stuck with this beat, didn't know what to do. So like making a switch up to the chords and making a switch up to the melody, making more substantial changes to like the rhythm of the beat instead of just dropping hi-hats and putting them back in. These are all things that you can try out, but yeah, it does sound like you have good fundamentals. I just want to see you push yourself a little bit more. Vibe V, yes, you could use my course, which is closing in 2 hours. Thank you for that endorsement, and also thank you to the course members that are in the chats. If you guys want, head over to my Discord and reach out to some of the course members. They can give you an unbiased opinion on whether or not to join the course. So obviously I'm going to tell you it's the bee's knees because I think it is, but if you want a more unbiased opinion, hit one of those dudes up. Or gals. We have some gals in there as well. Let's listen to someone who I haven't heard of before. Joshua Diedrichs. Oh wait, he did not follow the rules. Joshua, you gotta follow the rules. I'm sorry, my friend. Harry Potter from Chocolat. Been making music for a few months, so let's keep that in mind for young Chocolat. Let's take a listen. All right, that was Chocolat, a young Harry Potter fan, as you said, making music for a few months. Crazy Hi-Hat says Thrill Boy, few months, question mark, pretty fire. Digging the piano riff. Dennis says he likes it. So my takeaway is this is really well put together for a guy who's been making music for only a few months. I really like that main loop, the sort of ethereal pad background. That sounded really unique and very well constructed. I'm not sure whether that was something that you built, but nonetheless, if you didn't, you have a good ear for sounds and putting them together. The drum pattern was well put together as well, and for a guy who's been making beats for a few months only, the arrangement was really impressive as well. You sort of did keep me moving throughout the entire beat. You didn't do the exact same thing over and over again. You had certain areas of the beat where there were lulls, and then you sort of brought the energy back in. So it's really great development for someone who's been making beats for just that long. I think me, as well as many of the people in the chat, are a bit divided in terms of the piano part. It just didn't really work for me. It just felt like there's a little bit too much going on, and the piano really did stick out and didn't really sit well with the rest of the beat. So yeah, I think maybe even just grabbing an EQ and getting very narrow with the field of frequencies that the piano took up, that might have it sit a little bit better, and so it won't be as in your face and won't feel as if there's a little bit too much going on if you really constrict the frequency that it takes up and sort of weaken it. Yeah, it's hard to pinpoint exactly what the solution would be to this. If you did want to keep the piano as it is, maybe just minimizing the amount of notes that you were playing, because at one point it did almost feel like somewhat of like a piano recital on top of a beat, because you were just going wild with whatever you wanted to play. So yeah, I mean, that's obviously going to come with time to know a good balance between a sort of melody that sits well and sort of has its own pocket in the beat, compared to something that just sort of sits on top and feels like it's doing its own thing. Nonetheless, so very, very impressive, very well put together. Good job to Chocolat. Only a few months into this game, and he's making beats that sound better than me most of the time. I don't know what I'm doing, guys. So keep it up, young man. You're on the path to success and happiness and luxury, elegance, beauty, sustainability, eco-friendliness. All right, let's listen to Greg Mack, his beat F-Zero. Is that like the video game? Is this going to be a video game type beat? Let's take a listen. All right, that was Greg Max beat. The chat is saying, Vibe V saying, like the hi-hat roll, it's cool, but I don't really F with the retro vibes. His sat flow beats. R says there could have been more variants on the main lead, plus that beat tag thing is really annoying. There was a beat tag in there? Did I not pick that up? Synth going on for too long. So I think that I really enjoyed the feel of this beat. I'm an older gentleman, so maybe the retro vibe is really working on me, but I really did like that main loop in the beat and the sort of atmosphere of the beat that was created with that loop, and the sort of overall idea, intent of the beat. I would say I would agree with many of the people in the chat. Sean said that the sounds need processing, and I think that's one of the big things in this beat, one of the big components that really hurt it from being as good as it could have been. The main synth, the lead on top, as well as the choir vocals, they felt a bit too stock sounding. They didn't really feel like they sat in the beat as well as that main loop did. And so like you had one part of the beat that really did sound well put together, which would be the sort of main loop, the drums and the bass. But the sounds that you added on top, they just sort of, again, they sat on top. They didn't really feel like they were connecting into the beat. And a big part of the reason why is probably due to just the processing. So, you know, just grabbing an EQ, and that main lead, that main synth really felt bright and very harsh. I'm assuming that there's a lot of presence in the high end with that sound. So grabbing an EQ and really reducing the amount of space that sound takes up. And I would also say grabbing a reverb and pushing it a little bit further back just so it's not as in your face as it was with this beat. But yeah, I think the idea behind the beat, I enjoyed it. Very cool feel to the beat. Very relaxed and loungy. But yeah, it's just the small details in terms of how those additional sounds sat in the beat. If you improve those, I think this beat could really sound a lot. It could really take the beat to the next level if you just improved those two sounds, primarily the synth as well as that choir. Yeah, that vocal chant is straight out of a stock pack. Well, there you go. I guess that's what's happening there. But yeah, cool beat. I really like the direction that you took that beat in. It's just the small little things that you could tweak to perhaps improve it. Let's see here. Someone who is... there we go. A Charlie Brown Christmas. Isn't that heartwarming? Kai Surreal, he's got this Christmas 2020 beat, 84 BPM, so let's take a listen. All right, that was Kai Surreal, Charlie Brown Christmas beat right there. Whoopsies, where am I? How to use computers. Satflow Beat says instantly head bobbing. Smooth says internet face. Lo-fi radio type beat. Perfect beat, no cap. The chops are jumpy. They aren't cohesive, says Grout. Good vibes, says Steven. So I think my takeaway with this beat, great job with the drumming. That was really impressive. That drum break that you put together sounded very live, flawless. I think the drum selection in terms of marrying all the different sounds together, great job on that on that front as well. So big thumbs up there. I think you did a really amazing job with that additional layers that you added into the beat. That I don't know what sound that was. Is like a cool synth, almost like a vocal sounding synth or something. I don't know what it was. Regardless, it fit very, very well into the beat, and it fit, I guess, in terms of the space as well. You did a really smart job of side chaining throughout the entire beat, especially when that sound came in. You sort of had it pumping, and I think that really helped with the. It really helped with the. I forgot my point there, but I would somewhat agree with some of what the chat said. Like Grout said, the jumps were choppy and weren't cohesive. So this is one of the things that, well, first I'll say that that's exactly what happened with this beat. I think, having said that, you did a really great job of creating some direction and some cohesion with the bass line. You created your own bass line there, and it really created a sense of melody and sense of direction in the beat. And so that was really smartly done, but I sort of do feel like the chops, they were just a little bit random. They didn't really feel like there was any sort of melodic drive that it contributed into the beat. It just sort of felt like a random mishmash of chops. And obviously you did a great job of using the bass line to then provide some sort of drive, melodically speaking. But I would have, it's just hard to say, because like if the chops did do something musically speaking, and you sort of use the bass line to follow what the chops are doing, it could really create a sense of cohesion. But as it was just sort of like, here's a mishmash of chops, and I'm just going to do all the heavy lifting with the bass, which is smart. I'll say that. It's a really smart technique. But I do think that for your own development's sake, let's say, if you are going to chop up a sample, try to be deliberate and try to make the sample be a little bit more musical. I just sort of hate to see when producers just take a random approach when chopping and just not really paying attention to what's happening musically speaking. And I'm sure it sounds like based off of, he's only a 15-year-old chap. So yeah, I think based off of your abilities, I wouldn't be surprised if you were able to do that in other beats where you just chop things up and you're able to create something that does make sense a little bit more musically and does have more cohesion in it. It's just that with this beat in particular, that sort of jumpy, chaotic feeling with the samples, it could have been improved. But nonetheless, there was a lot in this beat that was really, really, really well done. Now that you say you're 15 years old, like, you guys are blowing me away a lot of the times. The fact that you sort of put that drum pattern together and you created a bass pattern that still created some sense of musical movement and drive in the beat, as well as the side chaining technique. It's pretty wild that you're 15 years old, because I was making dog shit when I was 15 years old. I wasn't even making beats. I don't know what I was doing. Probably playing some sort of wrestling video game. I'm like a real bozo. I was a real bozo kid. So yeah, I think good job to you, Kai. I would love to see you keep on going. It definitely sounds like you have talent. I'll say that. You have a very smart way of producing going about you. So yeah, I think all it really takes is you just keep on going and keep on developing, and I wouldn't be surprised if I'm working for you one day, Kai. That's very possible. All right, so it's 7 o'clock. We're under 2 hours left until my course closes. Let's do another keyword full of hugs and kisses. What should the next... Here we go. You know what? Let's go the opposite way. There we go. This will produce some very interesting results. So yeah, like you guys can see down below, my course is closing. It's I think I saw someone in the chat ask when it's going to be open again. I'm probably going to open it sometime mid to late April, but like I mentioned, this is probably going to be the least expensive it's ever going to be. Everyone who's joined the course so far, I haven't really heard anything in terms of complaints. People seem to be very happy with it. So the course is designed to help you guys make better beats. If you struggle with beats that don't sound how you want them to and you don't know what you're doing wrong, this course is designed to show you every single step of the way, all the things that typically producers get wrong and make mistakes in their beats. It's usually just a handful of things, but as you guys know, doing one or two things wrong can really hurt your beat. So I take you through the steps of starting a beat, like making your own loop, how to sample better, how to pick better loops, how to build a beat. So that's drum selection. So if you struggle with pairing your drums with the actual loop that you have, I walk you through some of the ideas that you should keep in mind. Drum patterns, selecting the right bass patterns, how to add sounds into your beat that actually fit and work, which is something that we've seen some of the producers today struggle with. That's one of the things that I sort of talk about and walk you through all the different concepts, why certain sounds work and don't. How to turn a loop into a full beat. So that's a struggle that a lot of producers have as well. How to keep your idea engaging and interesting and moving and dynamic, and I give you sort of a framework, a tool set to do that in your own beats. We have finishing a beat. So if you ever listen to your beat that you made last week or so and something about it just doesn't quite fit and you don't know what, I sort of take you through a troubleshooting that you can do in order to my website says 51 minutes left. Are you horsing around right now? Let's see here, guys. So yeah, if I also have mixing and mastering. Whoa, I need to all right, I'm gonna keep this course going for I thought I put 8 minutes, or sorry, 8 o'clock. Can I do something about this live? Whatever, it's fine. We'll keep going with the stream. Maybe I will close it in an hour, I don't know. Anyways, so yeah, mixing and mastering. I'll walk you through all the things that you need to know to mix and master your beats, as well as marketing. I show you how I grew my YouTube channel and how you can, the things that you need to do in order to grow your own platform if you want to sell beats. So yeah, let's see. We already have some very amusing answers. Should I fix it? I think that won't take too long. All right, let's see if I can quickly fix this live. Actually, I shouldn't do it on that screen because you guys are gonna hack my computer if I use my own web browser. I know what you guys are up to. Da 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 da. We have R. Kelly as the worst person in the world. Interesting. Let's see here. Hitler, Jake Paul, Donald Trump. Someone hates themselves. Matthew, come on. You're a lovely boy. My math teacher. My grandma. Who hates their grandma? Unless your grandma is Adolf Hitler. That could be possible. A lot of Jake Paul haters. All right, my website's not even opening. This is absurd. Oh well. All right, let's listen to some of these beats. We'll take a listen to. You know what? I'm not a big R. Kelly fan, so let's listen to Kushik's beat here. I never really enjoyed his music, and therefore, I say lock him up. Since I don't like his music, I don't care. Alright, that was Kushik's beat. I'm not gonna lie, I was fixing my website, so I was a little bit distracted there. If one of you guys can go to my website now to double check if the timer is correct. But from what I heard, I'm gonna give somewhat of a distracted review here. I apologize, Kushik. So yeah, just a lot of I think what the chat said was a lot of pluckiness, a lot of pianos, and a lot of bells. So something that's a little bit more sustained might be a good idea, because that was sort of constantly what was playing throughout the beat. The beat didn't really have much in terms of a sort of variety or a switch up. It was something similar over and over again. Unfortunately, you know what, Kushik, how about this? You go into the Discord, send me another beat, and I will promise to review it personally because yeah, I was a bit distracted there. So if one of you guys can go to my website and double check to make sure the timer is right. Let's someone had a humorous answer here that I want to listen to. Where'd it go? Here we go. Whoever made algebra. That's funny. Huncho Dev. I've been making beats on my phone for a few months recently. Moved to a real DAW. My main problem is my beat is a bit boring on the melody side. Please help. Let's take a listen to Huncho Dev's beat. All right, that was Huncho Dev, beat maker of a few months. Recently moved to a real DAW. Very ... chill, says Adamekho. Way too much of the same, says R. this is good for a beginner. I started making beats very similar to this. I just wish the drums were a bit harder. It says Sharp Vision. So I think for the main idea of the beat, I liked the pairing of the sort of bell sound, and you had that background pad. So you have this sort of ethereal background with a sort of more sustained, elongated type of instrument, and the sort of main instrument was that bell. And so you did a good job of pairing sort of different sounds, but they sort of aesthetically tied to each other. This beat really felt Bone Thugs-esque. It really did have a sort of dark, unique feel to it, like something terrible was about to happen throughout the entire beat. I think there were certain bass notes that were off, unfortunately. You'll need to double check. I'm not sure whether you have multiple bass. I think you do have multiple basses in this beat, and whether you just had different notes playing completely at one point, and that's why. So you might want to double check what's going on down there, because it's sort of went a little bit haywire during the hook section. I think it was the last note in your 4-bar loop. But yeah, you might want to double check. I will say though, I did not like the idea of the switch up. I sort of get what you're going for there. You wanted to make a new sort of sound or idea and introduce that into the beat. Unfortunately, I will say that it just felt like you're going from a somewhat of a unique, more complex idea, and the switch up was just a very basic, here's an organ and here's some drums. I don't know, I just sort of felt like you went from something that was somewhat cool and unique and interesting to something that was very basic. So I sort of didn't really like much about the second half of the switch up. If you were sort of struggling to figure out what to do with the beat to keep it interesting, doing a switch up like this, I don't think is necessarily the move. You will have to sort of figure out how to arrange the beat out so it stays interesting, and doing a switch up like that, it's somewhat like at times it can be like somewhat of a cop out, where you're just sort of saying, well, I'm just going to scrap this entire idea and make an entirely different beat, and this is going to be like 2 beats in one. At that point, you have to make 2 good beats, and I sort of feel like the second beat was just a sort of a letdown. So I think you have some cool ideas in here, and there were some real smart techniques that were done with this beat. Like I mentioned, the sort of pad in the back and the sort of pluckier bell in the front, that was really smart. You had good choice of aesthetics. It's just small little things that kept this beat, or just, I guess, errors in the sort of low end that really hurt the beat more than anything. But I'm a sucker for dark types of beats, just like Vibe V. So yeah, let's see who else you guys hate. Person behind the school system. Sure, Yemo. Let's take a listen to Space Intrusion by Yemo. Let's take a deep dive into the mind of Yemo. right, Yemo, I'm gonna give you the smooth fade out on that one. Yeah, the chat was not a fan of that beat. I'm gonna assume that you've been making beats for just a small, tiny while. I think I'll just point out some of the small things that stuck out to me. If you watched my video that I put out in January about the 5 mistakes that I see in most beats, this beat sort of did one that was a major takeaway, which is a lack of differing rhythms fundamentally. So with his beat here, every single time the note changed for your main flute or whatever that instrument is, you had the same thing happening. So he says it's third beat ever. He understands the mixing is off. So every single time you had the flute note change, you had the 808 play the exact same thing at the exact same time. Typically that's going to make for a very uninteresting beat, so you do want to create some variation on that front. But yeah, like you said, it's your third beat ever, so I'm not going to get too much into like mixing and arranging. Those are things that are going to come with time. I will say though, like if you sort of get confused and you don't know what to do with your 808 and you just say, well, I'm just going to copy and paste the exact same pattern that I have with my flute or whatever instrument that you choose, you sort of want to play around with when the notes are playing, how many of the notes are playing, and sort of try to create some sort of rhythmic variation within the beat. You don't want all your instruments playing at the exact same time and doing the exact same thing. So that's the one lesson that I will give as a takeaway, and I'll just leave the rest where it is, just because, like you said, this is your third beat ever, and I'm on the same boat as Lennel Beats. My first beat was way worse. I agree. Mine was quite junk as well. You hate Mayhem? Who's Mayhem? Nutty Boy hates me. So does my grandma. Are you my grandma? My grandma hates me as well. Let's listen to a Stalin hater right here. Eric Misenis hates Stalin. He's got this beat here called Beat. Let's take a deep dive. Is this beat like 10 minutes long? All right, Eric. You made a 7-minute beat. Are you mad? So Kelly in the chat asked whether I'm gonna keep doing my YouTube. Yes, the YouTube's not gonna go anywhere. It's just the live streams that this is gonna be the last time I do it. Again, just because the course is out and I want to focus on course members. I also do want to add more and more into the course as time goes on. So whether I'm gonna be able to do every single week on YouTube, I'm gonna try my best to keep that up. I do enjoy doing the YouTubery, but if push comes to shove, I do need to focus on the course members more. So there might be times when I might skip a week here and there. I'm not sure, but my point is. I will continue to try to do YouTube. So with this beat, Infinity Loop needs better mixing in my opinion, says K Beats. Need to cut that down. So what I would say is that for one of the things that stuck out to me was the drums didn't necessarily feel that cohesive, like the snare or the sort of percussive noise. It was very, like it had absolutely no high end to it, and the hi-hats were just completely high end and just very high pitched, and there was just sort of no gelling, no sort of overlap of frequencies, and sort of the drums sort of felt very, very detached, and that can work in some instances. I would say though that this beat, the situations in which that type of drumming can work is if there's just so much going on with all the other elements and the other parts are just so big that you sort of want to reduce and minimize the drums. That didn't occur on this beat either. The main loop was just not full enough. The mixing of the main loop as well as the rest of the elements sort of was what hurt this beat. I think the main instrument that you had, this sort of plucky instrument, there was just sort of no low mid range there that was present, and so the beat felt very weak and very frail because of that. And the 808 also didn't have much in terms of saturation, so there's pretty much nothing in that space, and that to me is probably why this beat felt somewhat incomplete. So yeah, I'm just gonna leave it there for now. I did like the bell that you added into the beat. I would have liked for that to do a little bit more heavy lifting in terms of introducing more variation into the beat. And I think what you did with that bell noise, it was very, very quiet and very faint, but I really did like the additional layer that you programmed in. But yeah, the big thing that hurt this beat was just the lack of presence in that frequency space from the sound of it. So yeah, not my cup of tea, says LOS. Geisha's in here. She just joined the course, I think it was yesterday or this morning. So congrats to Geisha. Lucius says he has it. I don't know what he has. But maybe we should move on from this this keyword because it's pretty wacky. Simon Cowell? I don't know someone could hate Simon Cowell that much. Let's do a new keyword here. There's the new keyword. We're going to keep on streaming for probably another 45 minutes. And then I'm going to go ahead and have to close everything down in the course and close down enrollment. So this is it. Boys and girls, the last chance to join my course. Obviously, it is going to reopen in about a month and a half or so. But at that point, it's going to be higher priced. This is probably the least expensive that you'll be able to get it. So yeah, go to betterbeatmaker.com and check out what's there. It's a 15-day refund period, so even if you're on the fence and you don't know whether it's going to be good for you or whether you want to participate, hop in, and it's pretty much no risk. You can just request a refund if you don't feel that it is for you. But so far, the people in the course members who have joined in, very happy with it. I would say though, if you're just starting out, if you barely know how to put a beat together, this course is probably not for you. This is more so for people who know what they're doing in terms of navigating their DAW. They can put a loop together, but beyond that they start to struggle, and even with the loop that they put together, they feel very limited in their skill set. They don't know how to create variation. They don't know how to make their beat more interesting, or if they make mistakes in their beat and they don't know why, or why the beat doesn't feel how the way it should. This course is meant to address all those problems. So betterbeatmaker.com. And also, I want to say thank you guys for showing up all these streams. This is going to be the last one I do. I think I want to do a beat competition for the next one, but that's going to be in a while, probably months. I wouldn't even say weeks. It's probably, we're talking months at this point. So that might be the next live stream that we set up. But yeah, for the people that have been coming week in, week out, I know some of you guys don't get your beats heard. It sucks, I know. But nonetheless, you do get something out of this experience, in that you're brave in trying to submit your beats and putting your stuff out there. I say this every single stream, but I'm going to keep on saying it. It takes a lot of courage and bravery to put your music out there and ask people, what do you think of this? Because that is the scariest thing that you can do as an artist, is basically put yourself out there and for the world to see. And sometimes people won't like it, and you might feel like that's them saying they don't like you, but it's not. And as you do it more and more, you start to develop a thicker and thicker skin in some way. And so even if you don't get your beat heard and reviewed, nonetheless you do reduce that anxiety and that fear, and every single time you look that in the face and you submit your beat nonetheless, you are improving in some way, shape, or form. So well done to you guys for submitting your beats and showing up and being brave. So thank you guys. Claps to you. My hat is off to you. All right, now tell me, guys, what's the worst smell in the world? This one made me laugh. Sorry, Grandma, but this is a beat by Tone. So let's take a listen to his beat that made me laugh. Malware is the beat name. I really like that little end sound there. That's Big Daddy Tone. He's got a real good grasp of beat making from what we can hear. This slaps, that motif hit. John Gorski says, what are those emojis? Oh, was that a sun peeking through the clouds? It's fire, says Grits and Gravy. His grandma must be proud, as stinky as she is. All right, so what? Ew. A foot stuck in an armpit between butt cheeks. So my critique of this beat, really unique sounds in the beat. That sort of main loop was really cool. I always love to hear beats where I have no idea what the instrument is. And that's exactly what that sound was. I have no idea. Good job of keeping the beat interesting and playing with the different layers and having unique sort of instances throughout the beat, such as that sort of tape stop and just small arrangement variations. You did a good job of keeping the beat interesting. I'm not sure. The small, tiny little thing that I'll say, like this beat to me is, it sounds like you know what you're doing. It sounds like you know how to put a good beat together. The one tiny thing I'll say is that during certain sections of the beat, it really did feel full and complete. But during the verse section, I'm not sure whether the space of the beat was completely filled, just because everything was very dry. What I might have done is just grab a delay like Supermassive and bring the mix all the way down, not all the way, but very, very low to something like 10%, just to have some small reverby sound, something that's a little bit more in the midground and background, just a small layer into the beat that makes things feel a little bit more full, just because I felt like during that verse section things did get a bit two-dimensional. But at this point, don't feel like that's a huge, awful thing that completely ruined the beat. It's just a small little thing that I picked up on. I think a lot of the people in the chat are saying that the beat is amazing for good reason. He's been producing for a year or so, so that's really impressive. Yeah, the things that I'm pointing out don't feel as if that they're sort of grand indictments. These are just a little small little thing that I picked up on. So yeah, I think great job. Lionel Beat says, I'm being a bit harsh, vocals is what the beat is missing. So that is a good point. If the beat had vocals on it and there were sort of reverby effects and sort of ad-libs, just like we talked about with that Travis Scott beat a bit earlier, I could see his point. So yeah, it would depend on that factor at this point, but yeah, that's my takeaway of the beat. Let's listen to Canet Rivera, a very simple submission of Ass. The beat is something something current, so let's take a listen. All right, that was Canet Rivera. So you guys are saying the 808's ringing. The best part of the beat is the drum only. Sounds like Zelda and Mario collabed on this. Good sound, just off key. I liked it, but a bit repetitive. So my thing with his beat, well, one is I think everyone picked up on it. The hi-hat, adding reverb onto a hi-hat is something that you should be very, very subtle with if you do it. Because with this, the amount of reverb on the hi-hat in this one was just a bit much. The longevity of it was a bit much. It was just constant reverb for the entire hi-hat as well. The high cutoff was not there at all. Typically with the reverb, you sort of do want to play with how much frequency you include in the reverb, and it sounded like there was no control with how many of the high frequencies were cut off with this. Just so it was just very, very bright up there and very, very constant. So yeah, you want to be a little bit more subtle with the reverb if you use that technique. With the drums, the clap was a bit weak as well. That sample wasn't all that great, and I sort of feel the same way about that 808. I don't know what was going on with the 808, whether it was just something in the low end. There's a little bit of weirdness down there, but I think the drum samples were ultimately the reason why this beat didn't really come together. It sounded like you did a decent enough job with the melody and the sort of instrumentation side of things. I would say try to work on your drums and ultimately just see how different samples feel in your beat and play around with maybe you want to download some more drum sounds and get your library a little bit bigger, but the drum arrangement that you came up with here just didn't really work, mainly because of the sound selection. So yeah, what's going on here? Why are people still submitting? Taylor Swift's Ghostwriter is the weirdest smell. I gotta go to the washroom soon, guys, so we're gonna do a few more beats in this one, unfortunately, because my bladder is gonna blow up. We have about 1 hour left until the course closes, and then me and the Better Beatmaker course members will begin our adventure with our live streams, where I've forced them to do challenges and I actually join in as well, so I'm really looking forward to that. Dried Fish is we already did Internet Face. Young man, we already listened to one of your beats, so don't want to double up on you. Give someone else a chance here. Dead Skin, that's pretty disgusting. Oztonator, Inception is his favorite movie, LOL. That's the beat name. Here we go.
Thought play would be good, this shit bang.
All right. That was Austinator's beat there. Let's see. This beat's vibey. Yeah, someone asked about whether the course is for any DAW. I think a couple of course members answered it is for any DAW. Even though I do use FL Studio to show the ideas in it, just like my YouTube, it can apply. These concepts are meant to apply no matter what DAW you use. It's about how to make better beats, not how to use FL Studio. And again, 15-day money back guarantee, so you can join up just to see if it is for you, and if not, yeah, you can do the refund. Decent ideas, more melody than most. Not amazing, but good. So I think this beat was interesting. It did have its sort of idea that it went for, and I think a lot of the instrumentation really did help pursue that idea. It's a sort of happy, very joyful beat. I think there was a bit too much going on with this beat in terms of all the different instrumentation. It felt like there were layers upon layers in this beat, and everything was like at a somewhat of a quiet level, and it's just so hard to sort of pick up on what each sound was doing, and at the same time it sort of felt busy. I don't know, it just sort of felt like minimizing the amount of layers that were in this beat and having just a handful of instruments do more heavy lifting. Like, I think the piano chords in this beat needed to be brought up, but at the same time there were like other chords that were also playing the exact same thing that sort of played the exact same thing but didn't really do anything different in terms of where they sat spatially, and those sounds also sat in a similar spot as many of the other instruments. You sort of just had this huge mishmash of instrumentation that took up very similar spots. So I would have just cut this beat down, been a lot more particular with which space each instrument sat in, and that would have, I think, really helped the producer make a choice as to what the idea of this beat is, just because I think the melody just overfilled everything else was solid. It's hard to say, like, if without that melody it was the most prominent thing in the beat, but I wonder how the beat would have sounded without it, and whether it would have just sounded like a big blur underneath that melody. That's sort of what I picked up on. I could be wrong, I'm not sure. So that's what I sort of would challenge this producer to do, is just sort of cut down, minimize, and sort of just take a handful of instruments and make that what the beat is about. So yeah, my bladder is about to go, guys. I'm sorry, I did not expect this to happen. So this is going to be the last one for quite some time. We've had happy times with this live stream. But you know what? Just like Bambi the pig, all things must come to an end. Just like how Bambi was turned into bacon, so must I with this live stream. So thank you guys for showing up. The course is going to close down in an hour. I'm going to close that puppy down. So yeah, I really do recommend you join up if you've enjoyed these streams. I'm going to take that experience to the next level over there. Plus you'll get access to much more materials than my YouTube. It's the next level of my YouTube, basically. Yeah, just try it out. If you have struggles with your own beats, join the course, see if it can help you out. And I'm very confident that it will, because many of the course members already say it's been very, very helpful in helping them improve. That is a disgusting answer there. So yeah, thank you guys once again for coming. Last beat, Nutty Boy, he says my bladder is the worst thing in the world. I agree. This is a very good way to end the stream. I'll probably see you guys, I'd say in a couple months time. I want to set up a beat contest, but maybe I'll just do a random stream every once in a while when I feel like it. I don't know. But yeah, thank you guys. the nuttiest boy of all. Yeah, great way to end the stream. What I would say is that I love the main loop and the intent of the beat. Very aggressive, dark, right up my alley. So good job on that. I think that you did a good job of filling up the beat with all the different layers that you had. It didn't really feel like there was a pocket that was missing, so I think it felt like a very complete beat. I will say though that there was a bit much in certain areas, so you know, I think a lot of people in the chat said the choir sound was a little bit loud. I sort of picked up on the same thing. That felt like a sound that you really want to push back and minimize with reverb and reducing the output. And I think the 808 slides were probably one of the reasons why some people also felt like it was a bit overpowering. So, you know, maybe just playing around with those elements and sort of reducing it a little bit to help the beat breathe in certain areas. You don't have to feel like you have to go max level to the brim at all times. But yeah, nonetheless, very lovely beat, and I'm happy that that was the beat that we got to go out on. So once again, guys, thank you for showing up. You lovely people mean the world to me. And yeah, I'll see you guys hopefully sooner than later, maybe in a couple months, but I don't want to make any promises. As always, we'll keep on going with the YouTube videos. It's just the live streams that I got to cut down on. So yeah, thank you all, and thank you to Grout once again for helping me with everything really. And yeah, if you ever want to reach out to me, feel free to do so in the Discord, or continue to leave comments on my YouTube. I always try to get back to everyone who messages on my videos within the first day. I try to keep up with that, but yeah, goodbye everyone. You're all loved.